Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by Bud Myron.
I have on my Easter Finest, my Pro Wrestling Tees favorite shirt that's not tapped out, and my NWA covered hoodie. Nick has his Easter bonnet on. Prepare for a show. Now, if you're one of our... Oh, and his Hold My Beer Hansen shirt. I found mine the other day. I can't wait to wear it again.
Hey, let's start the show off right. I'm wearing my Hold My Beer Hansen shirt that you can, by the way, purchase online in honor of... He's a dad.
Congratulations. Hello, yes, you're a father. You've joined a very, very great group here. Congratulations. And if you ever need any parenting advice, just turn to us. We'd be happy to help you. We've not failed yet. And speaking of parenting, I have rated the Easter basket so much that I might need some more diabetic pills. I've eaten plenty of Reese's eggs this morning. It's been a horrible shame.
Luckily, we've been trying to quit. But again, man, just real quick, wanted to say congrats to Savannah and Hanson, both.
Love you people. Yeah. Such wonderful people.
So we wanted to start the show off right. Maybe we'll get Hold My Baby Hanson's first promo video, and we'll release it over on our YouTube channel. So youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Check us out over there, man. Make sure you're not only liking the page, subscribing, turning your notifications on. You can even become a member there and get the show early as well.
For those people, it's Happy Easter. For regular people, it's Happy Day After Easter.
That's correct. So we always basically, as soon as I get this, we do these episodes and get them recorded, man, I upload them immediately to the paid member wall behind there. And, look, it's just, we get it started right as fast as we can for you guys. Look, I apologize in advance. If you cannot tell, I'm not really sure how my voice sounds right now because it is, in my head, it sounds horrible. I literally am trying to power through this episode. I am about as sick as Myron, we joke about this. I get sick maybe twice a year.
Yes.
It's in the spring and in the fall when the weather changes and the allergies or whatever. And it's just kicking my tail today. So,
well, I mean, last night we went from day before yesterday was 75, and then yesterday was 42 and raining. It was just an absolute miserable change. And you have to turn the heat on, and your body doesn't like that kind of stuff.
Maybe that's it. Who knows? But do you know what your body does like, Myron?
What's that?
Athletic greens.
Yes.
You're going to need a smaller cabinet because now you can take all those supplements you're taking or not taking and replace them with this. AG1 by Athletic Greens brings 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens together in one place. It might just be the most comprehensive and convenient nutritional regimen on the planet. Immunity supporting, recovery enhancing, digestion improving, energy lifting. Made to the strictest quality standards. Made New Zealand. Made for just about everybody.
That's right, man. If you're trying to eat healthy, get to all your minerals, nutrients, vitamins, all that stuff in one easy drink. Whether you're trying to eat keto, paleo, whatever it is, Athletic Greens at athleticgreens.com, that is your choice to roll with, man. That's our take anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's done wonders for me and Nick. Just made me feel better altogether.
Yeah. But, all right, man, let's dive into it because this week there's so much shit to dig through. And I mean that literally. It felt
God. It's like you were trying to find a pearl in just a mass of doo-doo. And I had the worst time trying to find any news stories because it was all about, oh, no, everybody's getting laid off. Oh, no, Vince is back. Oh, no, nobody controls this. What's going on? Who's a winner? Okay, Nick. What did we actually learn this week?
Well, let's. Where do you want to start? You want to start on the business side, or you want to talk about the stuff, the Raw SmackDown?
Let's learn the business implications between this. What happened that actually made money and made a difference?
Well, let's start with this side. Everybody went down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, well, we discussed it a little bit last week. Not a lot's going to change. But, however, I do want to, interject something, which will segue a little bit into the discussion about what happened on Raw. we all like to think, like, I understand that, people forget now Vince is not the end all anymore. He does answer to somebody now.
49 to 51%.
He still doesn't own that 49. You know what I'm saying? Like, he does now have somebody that will hold him accountable. So he can't just do whatever he wants. Now, I think they're going to give him some leeway for a little while. They're going to say, like, hey, look, you're used to running your thing, doing your thing. They allow Dana White to run UFC like he runs UFC. So maybe they will. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Maybe this is a last hurrah. Maybe it's like they let him have a final, run for a while.
Here's the other thing.
Who knows?
Myron, we don't even know. That's so, from the business perspective, they're going to do what makes them money. And by the way, let's sidebar into this one. There's going to be layoffs. There's going to be yes, there are. If two companies merge and they have two merchandising departments, two HR departments, they have two, on and on and on. Yes, they will probably, combine those departments in a lot of areas and remove out, duplicate positions. I mean, that makes sense.
How many duplicate positions for wrestlers do they have?
That's a different story. Now, I don't know.
How about cage fighters?
Like, we talked about this a little bit before we recorded. How many Dolph Zigglers do you have? One. So you're going to keep Dolph Ziggler. Now, do I think at some point we might look at budget cuts and some wrestlers be released? Maybe, but I don't think that's something they do right out of the gate.
No.
I mean,
you have to find a period of stasis before things level out. They talk about, there was a hiring freeze. Of course, there's been a hiring freeze when the company's up for sale. You don't change your budget and your payroll dramatically while something's up for sale. Oh, we didn't get Jay White. Jay White's a Bullet Club guy. He's not like a great fit right now. Okay. He wasn't, I don't think, there's been other Bullet Club guys that worked out great. I just don't think Jay White was a great fit. I think he's an AEW guy. I think Nick Aldis would have been a good fit. But you got to sell the company. You can't be changing your payroll insanely like that. So they were just doing what they had to do to get this deal made. And this deal is going to be huge because when they go back to negotiate their TV deals, you've got the power of this giant company to negotiate the deals.
Mm-hmm.
The company has more than doubled, and that company is coming back to negotiate your streaming deals. That's going to be a huge difference because the TV deals expire next year.
Right.
And then your Peacock deal expires in 2026. So what if they pull the streaming deal all together and the network goes to something that they've made on their own? Maybe UFC is capable of streaming this deal. Maybe they don't need Peacock.
I don't know, because they run on ESPN Plus already, so they kind of have their they're over now. I think what I personally believe will happen, I do think they will. They've said they will negotiate the TV deal separately, so it'll be. But like we mentioned last week, just because you negotiate things separately and individually doesn't mean they're completely separated, because it's one of those, if you take care of me on this one, maybe we take care of you on the next one. Make us a sweet deal on the WWE and we'll hook you up on a deal with UFC, vice versa, something to that effect.
Or we'll give you some fights. We'll give you a fight or two. They'll love to have some fights on network television on a Saturday night. Even if it's lower grade fights, they'd still love to have it. You can't beat that kind of thing. It's going to squeeze the networks, but who cares? That kind of money, they basically print money right now.
Well, Adam Vance put out, I saw a post he put on social media that made me actually go, that's not a terrible idea, by the way. He was like, what if SummerSlam was on a Sunday night and then UFC ran a card in the same town on Saturday night? So you basically had a back-to-back, but then you had a convention all week where you had all of the UFC and WWE fighters in one room. like not one room, but one giant convention center.
Yeah.
Running like an Access where you got all of the above. You got all kinds. You could do a lot of creative stuff with all of those people.
Yeah.
And stuff. Now, granted, it's two different worlds, so you're going to draw in I think you're going to draw in a crazy crowd because it's not just wrestling people. There's UFC, there's MMA guys that aren't wrestling fans, and we talked about that a little bit last week as well. So lots of potential for cross promotion from a business standpoint for sure. But look, let's segue, Myron, because we've talked business a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about, the creative part of this. It was trending all over social media. Worst Raw,
Fire events.
Worst Raw after Mania ever. Blah blah blah. By the way, I'm not sitting here lying and saying like, oh my God, I loved it. It was great.
It was, if we look at Raw and SmackDown, Raw was weird as shit. SmackDown was pretty much like every SmackDown for the last 3-4 months. It was normal. Raw was out of place. I didn't understand a lot of the stuff. I didn't get the stuff I wanted. I didn't get a lot of fulfillment. I would probably say I got about 25-30% of what I wanted out of it and what I expected. The rest was just bizarre. I don't know.
Raw, we're in a group text, and I put into it, Raw was a bad date that you had with a girl you've been dating for about 6-7 months. It's been going pretty well, but then you had the bad date, and most people were ready to just hang it up and let it go. Now, I did throw the caveat on you, you're clearly dating your ex-wife, because that's where the Vince analogy comes in. But it was one night. I'm like, guys, before you're ready to, this microwave society where one little thing is ready to just make everybody react.
Yes. I did an opinion piece and it came out horribly, so I deleted it. Remember, Nick, when we used to have to go to the video store to get WrestleMania? And we would have to wait on those tapes to be in stock, like to somebody not rent them. So we would have to, it might be 2 months after a WrestleMania before we got to see it because we'd have to wait on the tapes. So there wasn't this immediate commentary on social media. There wasn't any social media. But anyway, we couldn't get on there and tell you how bad it sucked. We didn't have time to know how bad it sucked. By the time we got it on tape, it was awesome. Okay? Remember, we used to have to wait months and years. Well, not months. Remember, we had to wait years between Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know it sucked. We didn't know Return of the Jedi sucked. Okay? Nobody ever told us things were weak and this, all this other stuff. We never knew there was a problem with anything. We thought it was all great.
I don't think that's the issue. I just think that everybody wasn't an expert back then.
Nobody was an expert. Look at Mandalorian. I thought this last episode was phenomenal. Everybody crapped all over it. I really enjoyed it. Everybody's saying this season is horrible. I'm really enjoying it. Are they hurting my enjoyment of it? No. But you see, you get the automatic power today to finish an episode or finish a wrestling show and get right on the internet and shit all over it. You haven't studied it. You haven't worked on it. You just crap on it. You didn't write the show. You haven't worked on this. I don't understand the fact that you can't even finish it before you're crapping all over something. People just, that instant, you said it was microwave society. That's so true. You have to get on it, just start insulting it. Yes, there were problems with Raw. Lots of problems. But give it a minute. Let's see what develops.
Like, I loved, we discussed this a little bit last week when Triple H made the comments at the press conference following WrestleMania about people always are like, well, it'd been better if you'd have did this. And he's like, how do you know? Because we didn't do that. Had we done that, we wouldn't know how this one would have gone. The way we did go was received. It's the, the Brock turn on Cody. Like, I loved it.
It was a total surprise. Never saw it coming. Never ever saw it coming. Total surprise. You got swerved, bro. Okay. I was surprised. Didn't see it coming. And it sets up an entire another storyline where Cody has to fight this other holy monster to get another shot at Roman. It's another thing he has to overcome. He becomes the crusader. He becomes the hero. He becomes the underdog fighting and defeating the giant. He's the Jack the Giant Killer or whatever the biblical story was. He becomes a hero because he's fought all this overwhelming things and these massive heroes or villains. He's got through these villains to get to where he is and overcomes all these obstacles to get to Roman Reigns. So it means so much more when he defeats him. Because people said, well, this Cody thing has been rushed. I think it had been rushed. So now you're going to get the Cody story. You're going to get all this stuff. You're going to sell a shit ton of his merch. You're going to get everybody behind him. So when he comes back for Roman after the 1,000 days is up, it's going to be intense. It's going to be insane. It's going to be so much bigger than the WrestleMania setup.
WWE has been super patient with the Roman story. I mean, think about it. He's chasing 1,000 days.
Yeah.
For one, you don't get these opportunities often, so you got to capitalize on it. 2, do they have the patience? I'd love to know what people think. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Do you think they have the patience, by the way, to ride this story for a year and Cody's moment be next Mania?
Could very well be. It could. I mean, they have right now a storyline that's so compelling. They don't need Roman for right now. Paul's got it. Paul and the Usos and Solo, they got it. They can hold the bloodline storyline for months and have Roman out of the picture and have Brock holding Cody.
I don't know.
They've got this thing.
I don't know that you can get Cody Brock versus past SummerSlam. I think there's at the best that's your blow off. I think it's probably before that, to be honest with you. But I'm just saying if they did, string it out and do a longer arc there, SummerSlam's probably it. Then what do you do to Cody after that? Is it Solo? And then is it, blah, blah, blah. Do they start the mountain of you got to beat Solo, you got to beat Jay, or Jimmy, Jay, or Jimmy, or Jay, Jimmy, whatever, and then Solo, and then you get to Roman again at Mania type of thing. Like literally, somebody brought up a great point. I mean, did you really think, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent what this take is, did you really think that within his first year, Cody debuted last WrestleMania, not the last, but 38, that within 1 year after leaving and coming back, he was going to run through everybody and then win the Rumble, and then at his first opportunity. How many WrestleManias did it take for Roman Reigns to actually win the championship? Do you remember the one where he was in a match and he didn't, by the way, it was Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins walked out with the championship out in San Francisco.
Remember when he had to do that whole Shield bit? And he was forever just doing that bit. Remember, he was an underdog. They made him a baby face for so long. Cody is not just facing all this because he was at AEW. Cody is facing all this because they're building him to be the super baby face. They're building him to be the Hulk Hogan. They're building him to be the next Dusty Rhodes. They're building him to be the superstar. They're building him to be the merch selling machine. The person you identify with. That's where they're going. They're really making him the everyman. Where that stupid song that plays when he comes down the ramp, that becomes your anthem. Think about it.
Listen, I think eventually we get there. How long it takes? Is it SummerSlam? Is it Survivor Series? Look, I know a lot of people, just completely, there was no pun intended here, all kinds of backlash, about him not winning. And the more it goes on, I'm just okay with it. Because here's the thing. I'm trying to get with wrestling to where I'm like, listen, dude, just stop overthinking it. Stop overanalyzing it. How about you just sit here and watch the story unfold? The era that we have rolled into with movies and TV shows and you name it, anything, everybody's an expert, everybody's a critic, and I'm like, dude, how about you are you even a fan anymore? I'm like, just enjoy it, man. Just lay back and watch, because, everybody's a Monday morning quarterback, every Monday morning or Tuesday morning booker, I guess would be a better analogy when it comes to wrestling. But it's just so true, man. It's like, oh, this is what's going, and you don't even know what's going to happen. Like, you don't even know what the plan is. It's like all of the writers who were writing, like you brought up the Jay White thing. Like, dude, they had all but had Jay White signed with WWE. And then he didn't sign, and he shows up on AEW, and I'm like, do you think all of that happened in like a day? Like, you people were just wrong, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong to going, all right, well, I guessed at something, and I was wrong.
Well, then it became somebody's fault. Because you were wrong, it became somebody else's fault. That WWE don't know how to sign anybody. That's the WWE's fault. They don't know how to do this.
Well, it was Vince didn't want him anymore. Vince, Vince, think about this. Sunday night, or no, somewhere, here's the timeline that you were being led to believe. Somewhere Saturday night after night one, the greatest night of WrestleMania top to bottom history run by Triple H. Night two sucked because clearly Vince took over somewhere. The clock struck midnight and that it became a pumpkin, and Vince took over. So night two sucked. Raw sucked because they sold to Endeavor. And somewhere in that timeline, the deal with Jay White fell through, didn't happen. And then something magically happened between, Monday night at, after midnight and Friday. Triple H is back in charge. Smackdown was back to being normal again. Triple H is out there and everybody's bowing down to the king.
Did you see that entrance was insane? That entrance was insane. I've never seen anything that nuts for a president or whatever role he has. Jesus Christ. It's like everybody, he's the savior. I mean, all of a sudden he's as popular or more popular than Tony Khan. What the hell is going on?
Triple H,
and he quoted off all those figures, Nick. Biggest WrestleMania this, biggest WrestleMania that, and they just this and this. We broke, and he's telling you money. He's like, we sold more of this, and we got more sponsorship, and we did this, and then you're seeing these numbers that are like Logan Paul got 27 million social media things, and they did 800 million of this, and he's got all like the biggest WrestleMania of all time, and wonderful. And he gets out there and he just riles you up, and you feel proud to be a wrestling fan, and you got all this stuff going on. I just felt great. And then he announces a draft, and I'm like, that man just whooped me into a wrestling frenzy. He made me just.
So let's go there, man. So the draft is finally coming. And I love how it just randomly was a few weeks. Like there was no 2, 3, 4 weeks. It was literally in a few weeks when we get around to deciding when we're going to do it, we're going to do it. Type of announcement.
Medical facility.
Everybody. Do you think that those words meant when he said everybody's eligible? By the way, in an era where it doesn't seem like the brand splits even is a thing, does the draft matter?
I don't know if it matters so much because the high level people are on every show, and then you got the women who go back and forth across both shows because there's one women's tag belt,
right?
And it goes back and forth. Maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's whatever they do when they give me the best entertainment. I don't pick details. I don't go along the detail, but it's fun to do the brand split. It's fun to watch a draft. Is Ric Flair eligible?
I hope not.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite actual post of the week. WWE is upset with Ric Flair about his Muda speech. Okay, I'm sorry. You asked Ric Flair to do a speech, and you were disappointed in it.
Rick responded, by the way, on social media or on his podcast. Basically, it's like nobody said anything to me at WWE, so he doesn't even know where that's coming from.
He doesn't know where a lot of things are coming from.
Let me ask you this: whoever posted that, could they just be full of shit? I didn't love his speech, and that's okay. His take was, look, most people in that building didn't know who Muda was. Muda never worked here. So he just kind of went out there and did his thing. And like you said, now I will agree with you in the sense of you sent Ric Flair out there, you kind of knew he was going to do what Ric Flair does. But his take was like, well, nobody said anything to me at WWE, so I don't know. You know, like, I don't know. I didn't know there was any heat, brother. I mean, you know, but anyway, but back to the draft. If you do the draft, here we go again. We've experienced this how many times it feels like in our lifetime. They do the draft, they do a brand split, time rolls on, and then it just blurs up and it doesn't matter anymore. Like, why do we continue to do the draft if you're not going to stick to it hard fast? That's my question, Myron.
Entertainment. It's sports entertainment. Okay, it's not like we're taking number one picks and working on to build our teams for the future, and we've got free agents. It's just entertainment. Okay, it helps build storylines. It helps build new factions. It helps Legado del Fantasma or whatever those guys named, the new Latino World Order. Does rivalries do rivalries continue? Are things going to build? Do you separate people? Are feuds going to be different? I like the whole concept. Are we going to separate the belts again?
That's where I think that's, to me, the biggest part of the draft needs to be that. Is it time to separate those titles somehow? I'd love to know how people would think they would do them. I mean, what are your thoughts? How would you, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, how would you separate the belts at this point? Like, do you just take one away from Roman? Or do you just, like, go back to where you just have, you know, a WWE championship, and then do they bring back the big gold and call it the World Championship?
Well, you know, Paul carries that one. That's the SmackDown one Paul carries, right?
The Universal Championship, yeah.
Okay, so Roman just wears the one. He doesn't ever wear the one Paul carries. Now, he'll hold it occasionally.
He does the two belt pose, yeah.
But just take away the one Paul carries.
The Universal title. Because Roman wears that. So the Raw belt was the WWE Championship.
Yeah.
SmackDown was the Universal Championship. So now he's got both. So yeah, I mean, do we just get rid of the Universal Championship and we call it? Do we go back to the big gold? Or here's the problem: no, because they sell too many damn of those belts. Or by
replicas.
The way, or do you go back to the big gold again so you can start selling those again?
Do a big gold and a winged eagle for each show.
Here's the thing, though. They have branded that so much. It's the running joke of if the guy wins the World Series, the NBA championship, or the Super Bowl, and you give him the belts, you don't ever wonder, like, hey, who's champion? It's the WWE. You could see the WWE on it. I mean, they know what belt it is, so that's why they're never going away from those belts.
Oh yeah, they're a marketing genius. And those guys hold those belts up. Those guys make the most of it when they get those belts for winning a championship. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Or is this the opportunity, Myron, where you finally just say, we're making one World Championship. We're getting rid of the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. There's going to be one belt, and we elevate the Intercontinental, because Gunther has done an amazing job of elevating that Intercontinental Championship up.
Yeah.
Austin Theory, like he's the U.S. champion. Do you elevate that belt up? And like these are your brand titles. Like we've talked about this forever. It feels like forever. And then you just kind of run it that way, and do the same with the tag
That
belts.
doesn't sound bad to me. Doesn't sound bad at all to me. Where's the TV title? Everybody, I mean, that's the TV titles.
No,
I love the old terms. I love the old TV titles. It just makes me so think about old timey wrestling when you had TV titles.
No, I say you stick to the world title, the U.S., the Intercontinental. You have tag team belts, one set of tag belts, one set of women's tag belts, and I still think you do one women's belt. I think you take Rhea and Bianca, that little tease they did on Raw, and you unify those two. It's my take. So that's the draft. That, I mean, what do you want to see? Is there anything you want to see come out of the draft? Are there any moves? Anybody moves anywhere or anything?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head because right now I think they're building the strongest rivals and storylines. You can't separate You can't separate Sammy and Kevin. You can't separate Ray and Damian. There's so much that are the Usos. You have to keep so much together and keep the storylines going. You're not going to get that turn in factor, where people want to tune in every single week to see this kind of stuff. The Usos and Sammy and Kevin is a beautiful storyline. And Paul whispering to Solo, if this doesn't take care of our Sami Zayn problem, you're going to take care of our problems. The intrigue, the stuff like that, you're not going to get that if you start separating things too much. Who's going to pick? I mean, who's the picker? Do we have a commissioner that'll pick for each individual?
Well, don't they have Adam Pearce kind of like running Raw? So you got to have him, and I don't know who's your Smackdown. It used to be Sonya Deville at one point, I thought, but I mean, you could sign. I don't know. I mean, I just say they
need some clarification.
Spin the wheel, make a deal. That's who you get. You draw names randomly. But I know a lot of people get excited around the draft. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't think they're going to stick with it. If they stuck with it and they did a couple things to make it, consistent, I would be okay with that. But that's just my take on it. So anyway.
So is Bad Bunny going to be available for the draft?
Probably not.
So there's no way they're splitting up the whole Bad Bunny, Damian Priest thing. No. Bad Bunny, Rey Mysterio, Damian Mysterio. That whole storyline is not going to get split up.
Do you think they do? Let me ask you this: do you think they wait and do the draft after Backlash?
I would think so because that's dude. That's huge. That's huge. You got your best heel, regardless of what anybody says. Damian Mysterio is the best heel. Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, best heel in the business right now. Everybody hates him. Okay, he yells at his mother. He throws a drink on his sister. He hits his dad. He's greasy. It's just, he's too good. He's too good. He's got that horrible little mustache that makes his mustache make Vince's look good. Okay. I just was so captivated by hating him. And then Ray is dad is so great. So you can't, and then Bad Bunny's involved, who's the number one music artist on the face of this earth, is what they keep saying. He's the most downloaded.
He keeps winning Grammys. That's all I know.
I don't even know that much.
I don't even know what that means anymore.
I'm so out of the loop. Jesus Christ. I'm listening to older music than Gary Lamb does. That's how bad it is.
Right. Exactly. But look, lots of changes. But look, a big, massive one, man. Let's jump into this before we get too long. We sit on opposite sides of the fence of this, I believe. So, okay, first and foremost, I will say Tony Khan needs to stop with the big announcement tease. However, I will say
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I do believe he delivered on a good, solid one. Was it a little I wasn't completely blown away about it. I think it doesn't stand up to the test of, the biggest night. He's becoming Tony Schiavone, and I don't mean that in a negative, by the way, the greatest night in the history of our great sport, type announcement. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with how big of an announcement it was. That All In, now that they own Ring of Honor, he owns the name All In. They can actually use it again. They're going to run All In 2023 in Wembley Stadium over in London. I'll let you go first. And what was your take? And then I'll come back.
This is a great thing for pro wrestling. Is it a big thing for your average AEW wrestling fan? At first, I don't know. That was one of the questions I have. Is that one of the things, like your average guy sitting at home on the couch? Is it going to matter to him that that week that they run that it's going to be in England? I don't know. Is it going to be bigger than the WWE show in England? I don't know. Now, is this a win for AEW? It could be the biggest win or a huge loss. They're taking a tremendous chance here. This is their chance to establish themselves, or this is their chance to really, really fail on a major scale. Now, you look at this more of a positive than I did.
100%. I look at it as, because look, one of the things we gloat over WWE about is it's a global product. It's not just a domestic product. AEW has to kind of start making that move. I think this is a great move, by the way. Look, I know a lot. Look, I think London is the right choice. The cons are already like a known commodity there. I mean, they have a team over there in the Premier League. So it's not like they're going over. They have connections. They have people they can promotions department, marketing department, logistics. All of that stuff is already there. So I think it's a great thing for them that they're going to a place that they kind of can. It wasn't like, hey, let's just randomly go to XYZ. Look, I know they said that, the stadium's 90,000 and people are coming out and talking about, how many people do they need to draw into this stadium for this to be a success. Myron,
Yes.
Look, I'm gonna hit it close to home for you. We ran a show. Our measure of success was don't lose money.
Yes.
There you go. A real measure of success for Tony Khan is don't lose money on the show. If they broke even or made $1, kudos. However, I am fully aware that there are some people who might look at it and say, oh, if they don't draw X, then they, it'll be perceived as a failure. We looked it up a little bit beforehand because I wanted to kind of know. SummerSlam in Nashville at the Tennessee Titan Stadium drew roughly 48,000. And before we had talked about it, I said, I think they need to draw somewhere between 45 and 50,000. So I'm right in that wheelhouse. I think Arthur Ashe is their biggest number, around 22,000, give or take. That's still over doubling what they've done ever. Mm-hmm. How could that not be a success?
So your thoughts are they're gonna sell 45 to 50,000 tickets. They're gonna section off Wembley, and go from there. I think anybody would section it off for a wrestling event.
Sure.
I would think it's already capable of being sectioned off for rock concerts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt rock concerts draw that. What do they have at Wembley on a regular basis?
Soccer.
And I guess it wouldn't be a 90,000 seat arena if it didn't draw 90,000 seats for something.
Yeah. Look, I think the beauty of wrestling, by the way, this thing is in August. I think tickets go on sale in May.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to have months. This is almost like Mania-like in the sense of you're going to have months to sell tickets. So the night after or the day after tickets go on sale, you're kind of going to have an idea, right? I mean, if they sell 8,000 tickets, you're in trouble. If they sell 25, 30,000 tickets, you're probably off to a good start. You know what I mean? I think they're, by the way, because here's what you're going to do. You're going to design that setup. How far do we have to push the stage, the entrance stage? The more people you add, you're just backing the stage up is all you're doing, and you're adding seats as you back it up.
I would think 20,000 would be an ideal number for the first night. But what if Tony panics?
I don't think he will. I don't know why. I am so optimistic about this. I think they draw. I think they draw well. Look, I think they outdo my number. I think they do 50,000. Like I'm pretty comfortable with that number. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. By the way, and I'm okay with saying I'm wrong. I just think with their connections and their like everybody knowing who they are, they've never been. It's like bringing like a hot rock band over to to a place they've never ever been. You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like we're all desensitized. WWE's been to Atlanta plenty of times, so you're not really.
They're coming back soon.
They're coming back, and guess what? We're not like rushing out to buy the tickets immediately because we're kind of like, oh, maybe, who knows?
My chair is really comfortable. I hate to say it, but it's a lot more comfortable than any other place. I don't ever have to wait in line to go to the bathroom. Well, I rarely. Well, sometimes I have to wait in line to go to the bathroom here, but to me, unless it's a big show, the benefits of going aren't what they used to be. That's just me. I worry that they're going to want to do something insane to draw this show. Like they're going to pull, like, it's going to be like that Daffy Duck bit where him and Bugs Bunny try to outdo themselves and Daffy winds up blowing himself up. I hope Tony Khan doesn't turn into Daffy and try to pull something insane to draw this show. And you mentioned it earlier from Bubba Ray. What would that be?
If and this is only if. By the way, I don't think this is going to happen. In the sense of, I think ticket sales are going to be fine. If, however, ticket sales are poor, I think Tony Khan will do whatever it takes to get CM Punk back, to give us Kenny Omega, CM Punk in Wembley. And that's, I think, what he thinks will fill that, as many, maybe 60,000 people into that stadium, for that match. I just think it's a rabid fan base. They haven't seen AEW in person at all over there yet. So I think the opportunity's there. And I hope they knock it out of the park. Because I honestly think that would be a true measurement of their potential long term.
Oh, I don't think they can try to draw WrestleMania numbers. I think that's a different ball game. I think they should be happy.
I'm going to cut you off there because I'm going to ask you, what if they do? What would you say if they drew 80,000 people in that stadium?
I would be shocked. I would be utterly shocked. I wouldn't even know what to say. If they were to put 80,000 people in that stadium, my mind would be blown. I would be absolutely in shock. I wouldn't know how to handle it.
I want to know, everybody listening, what do you think they'll draw, for Wembley? And if they drew 80,000 people, what would you say? Like, what would be the argument at that point? Does all of this have to go away? All of the negativity about AEW, does it have to go away at that point and go, they're a legitimate player now, and we need to give them the credit that they're due? Would you?
I would try to. I would like to see them draw a million on their regular show every week, but that 80,000 would really, really blow my mind.
Do we oversimplify things into saying, like, I've said this about WWE for years, right? I think the U.S. fan base has become so just used to them traveling. I wish they traveled overseas. I think the crowds are hotter a lot of times. I think they draw better over there. They sell tickets faster overseas. Look, if AEW's only going to get 800,000, what are they drawing? Because all we care about, it seems like, is what we're doing in the U.S. What are the U.S. ratings? What are these U.S. viewership? I don't know. What are they drawing viewership in overseas? If it's hotter over there, we're so stuck on that. Our number's the most important number. If you're a global product, that doesn't matter. How many people watch soccer here in the States versus the rest of the world? I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, I would have to say you're correct on that. Do they broadcast AEW in other countries.
Yeah. That's kind of my point. Like, if you're watching, if you're in Europe and you're watching this all the time, I'm like, okay, what if they become more attractive and they just go like, you know what? If we're only gonna, we're struggling a little bit with ticket sales in the U.S. and the viewership in the U.S. Let's become a global product. Let's do more traveling.
Well, do a tour. Do a tour and broadcast it here. What's the big deal? WWE's done it before.
Yeah,
they got the money.
I think so as well, man. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a look. If nothing else, kudos to have the balls to step out there and try this.
Yeah, I give them that.
Like 100%. I think it's a great move, and it's another thing to show that they're willing to push the limits and go to another level. So I hope that they are ready, because this could be the thing for take them. We're about to discuss whole nother level, right? That this is where they go. Yes. This is the whole other level, right?
Yeah. Well, it's their grand opportunity.
I agree, man. So anyway, look, before we hit into the indie talk, we do want to remind you, make sure you're subscribing to us over on youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on. You can even become a member, be there behind the paywall, get the show early. Usually it's a full day ahead of time for us, but we know a lot of our people, look, your podcast listeners, you like to listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartMedia, wherever and whenever you're listening to your podcast. We appreciate that. Make sure you're leaving a 5-star rating and review. That you never know how much that helps us, man. It helps move us up the charts and helps get a little bit of recognition.
Talk about that podcast of the week last week, Sports Business Journal.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. I love a good recognition.
Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
All right. So this weekend, man, before we get out of here, big weekend looks like we got to go. Up Friday night, Southern Honor. Saturday night, Southern Fried. UWF is Sunday. I don't know that I can swing 3, so I'm going to have to figure this whole calendar out.
That's tough. That's tough, man. 3 in 3 days.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't have my calendar in front of me. Southern Honor is a must. They took off last month, so we didn't even get a chance to go see them. So I want to see how they're crushing it up there. Jake the Snake Roberts booking a hell of a show up there.
Yes.
Now that Gary Lamb's put him in charge. Can't wait to see, after he's getting a little momentum of booking. Lots of crazy stuff up there, man. Lots of cool matches on the card. Kind of looking forward to Gunner and Corey, man. There's a lot of history there. And when there's gold on the line, it's usually pretty intense. So,
I'm juiced for Southern Pride, man. I'm totally. I can't wait for that. It's going to be some great old timey, good feeling wrestling matches. I looked at the card. There's no way it can disappoint. I love that crowd. I love being there in that building. I think it's going to be a terrific show. I think we've got 2 terrific shows, and I think UWF the next day has probably one of the best matches you're ever going to see. Slim J versus Nick Halen. AEW talent right here. And locally, you can't beat that. And I think Nick Halen's going to give him a hell of a match.
Yep. So Friday night, Canton, Saturday night, Monroe, Sunday, Colbert. Those are kind of the big 3 that we're trying to hit this weekend if we can. Not promising them all because, like I said, there's no way I can hit all 3. I just got to see what my work schedule looks like for the weekend and see what we can pull off. But definitely, like I said, Southern Fried, Southern Honor, taking off a month, definitely need. And the problem was we missed the last Southern Fried show as well. So
yeah.
But I really want to see Nick Halen and Slim J. So it's got me all torn up. So check them all out, man. And if you get a chance and you're a wrestling fan here in the Georgia area, look them all up. Southern Honor, Southern Fried, and UWF in Colbert. And get out there this weekend and support them.
You have to get over your horrible illness by then.
That's the other drawback. If I'm not feeling any better, I don't even know how I'm going to pull it off.
Wow. We will get you full of plenty of that athletic greens.
Athletic greens, and I'm actually not going to lie to you. In about an hour, I'm going to be sitting in a urgent care begging for a steroid shot or some antibiotics or something. So hopefully it'll help me all bounce back by the end of the week. So But anyway, man, that's all I've got. You got anything else this week, man?
I don't know, man. I had a good week as far as watching stuff on television. Raw was kind of screwy. Mania was fun. Lizzo and Grogu. Me and Grogu like the same things. We like cake. I enjoyed that. Let's just have fun, folks. Enjoy our wrestling. Enjoy being alive. Enjoy doing the best we can, and have some fun.
Yep. Well, man, is that it? You got anything else?
I got nothing else.
What's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.